I felt an obligation to give back to the community that raised me. I always told people Tyler is the best town in Texas. And I thought, what better way to help your town than to get on the school board? Because that's where it all starts. That's the foundation for everything. You can either have an educated public or an uneducated public. And I wasn't upset at Tyler ISD. I was happy to think, okay, I can help by letting them know what's going on freshman year at SMU. What's going on in law school? How do we study? Anytime you run for public office, I still remember sitting in the parking lot at the TISD administration office with my candidate packet that I'd already signed, and I'm like, all right, well, you're about to run for office. There's a chance you could lose. Are you ready for that?
Welcome to another episode of East Texas Unfiltered. I'm your host, J. Chad Parker. Today, we have a fifth-generation Tylerite, a name that you'll know right off the bat, but I don't think you know him. We're going to learn about his story, what he's done, why he's done it, and what's important to him. Andy, thank you for being here.
Glad to be here, Chad.
Andy, most people, Tyler has grown since you and I have grown up to now what is close to 115,000 in the city limits, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yep.
We've
come a long way.
I mean, we pretty much felt like we knew everybody in the late 70s, early 80s. It felt that way, didn't it?
It did.
Now, you had a little bit of an advantage in the sense that, people knew Bergfeld from the park and from the shopping center, right?
Yep.
Now, growing up, what was it like, for people to know the name, with your dad and your granddad and your great granddad? And, what was it like growing up like that?
It was neat. It was neat that we had a reputation and that it was a good reputation for really trying to make Tyler a better place for multiple generations. So I could read about ancestors and see what they had done. And I guess it kind of motivated me a little bit to make a difference in this town. But also the hard side of that was you don't want to just sit back and rely on your family name and then let it go to your head. And so it was real important for my parents to raise us to where we kind of did our own thing, and that you weren't just because of who your name was didn't mean that you got anything special or any kind of special treatment. So that was the balance we kind of had in our home.
Well, I have the benefit of knowing you for a long time, and I know what you just said to be true. In Tyler, some people in the past have simply relied upon their name to carry them forward as opposed to try to carry something forward for themselves. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't want to be the generation that, it all stopped and that let the rest of the family down. So it's kept me motivated a little bit.
Well, I did some research, and of course, Rudolph Bergfeld, he's kind of the pivotal figure, in the late 1800s that makes the Bergfeld connection with the city of Tyler, right?
Right. Yeah. He, for reasons that we don't know anymore, wasn't passed down to myself or my father, but he ended up just leaving St. Louis, where his family was, and coming to Tyler, Texas in 1878. So there were some things going on family-wise where I think he had gone to Germany because his parents wanted him to go over there and work in the family business, but he didn't like it, so he got on a ship, came back, and was a bookkeeper for Anheuser-Busch distributor.
In St. Louis.
In St. Louis. So he learned the number side of a bar, basically, and selling alcohol, and then came to Tyler and opened a saloon.
Really, that's that's interesting. We think about that because, Rudolph will face Prohibition.
Yeah.
I don't know when he died or if he was still alive when Prohibition got here.
Yeah, he went through it, but he had sold everything by the time Prohibition came.
Well,
he died in 1930.
I mean, that's so interesting because, there's very limited family history that I can look back on, research, and find out about my people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got, generations back to Rudolph to kind of learn what they did when they got here.
Yes. Pretty interesting. And of course, he was a German, son of a German immigrant and married daughter of a German immigrant. And so that was a little bit different socially as well. Most people were English, Scotch, Irish descent, and
in Tyler
at the time. Very southern town, and the Germans just didn't kind of think that way. But he ended up getting into real estate and banking and hotels and all kinds of other stuff by the time he passed away. So it's pretty interesting life.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, because you think about it, he shows up here, maybe he has some money from, what he's done before. I'm assuming money would probably spend a longer way when he gets to Tyler from where he came from, like buy more.
Yeah.
Real estate, that type of thing.
I haven't thought too much about that. But yeah, to start a business on the square, you would have had to have something. But he also, I found out much later, he was on the Tyler school board for, I want to say, like 20 years. I didn't know that.
But that's like you.
Yeah, I know. And it was after I got on the board when someone said, hey, there's a cornerstone at Caldwell High School that's got a Bergfeld name on it. And I was like, really? And so I had the board secretary, I said, look up and see who it was. And she said, it was Rudolph Bergfeld, and he spent 20 years on the school board. So that was after I'd already gotten on. So it is kind of strange that we both did that. But I think education was probably important to him, and having an educated community was important at that time, just like it is today.
Yes, I can see that. He probably felt like, especially in the South, it may have seemed, coming from St. Louis, as if there was a level of education that had not been reached here, and it was necessary for things to be more progressive, if you will.
Yeah, and the family business in Germany was actually a business. So they weren't like they were farmers or something. Right. I mean, they had been in business several generations in Germany before they even came to America. So that was kind of his background, was just the business side of things.
And Germans have historically been known for, being, the top in engineers, manufacturing and things of that nature. And so that, that makes sense. He gets here. I guess he does well with the saloon, and then either is forced to diversify and has the money to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he ended up with maybe 2 or 3 saloons at one time, and then...
He's a franchiser.
Yeah, and then opened Bergfeld Loan and Trust, and then that's when things, I feel like, really took off, because...
That's like a bank where you loan money.
It was a bank, and so then he started buying real estate and developing it, and then holding the notes as he sold land. He would finance it also, so he was getting interest on that plus the sales price. And
Jeff Bowie followed his.
Yeah, right. It's kind of that way.
I mean, Bowie was one of the first ones, him and Cavalier and Tyler, to hold their own paper.
Yeah,
right. Instead of selling the notes, they buy all their cars, they finance them, and so that's the kingpin of business when you can do that.
Yeah, it creates another income stream versus just the sales price.
All right. And so what have you learned about, because that's a lot of land. I mean, you think about Bergfeld Park and you think about Bergfeld Center, and, that's quite a bit of land, just that. Yeah. Kind of around the middle part of what is, the Azalea district today.
Yeah. And so the Bergfeld we know today, Bergfeld Center, that was my great grandfather inherited that land. So when Rudolph passed away, he had 2 sons.
When did he die? Let's put this on a timeline.
Yeah, 1930.
Okay, 1930.
1930 is when Rudolph died.
Golly, lucky for him, he missed the Great Depression.
Yeah, missed the Great Depression, missed the East Texas oil field.
He sure did.
We kind of wonder about that.
Y'all would have been billionaires if he'd have been there.
The rumor is, I guess, that my grandfather said they thought it was too risky to put their money into something like that when they, I guess, had a good bit of money
to put in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's like Bitcoin.
Maybe it will be.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, people that got in early, they said, man, this is risky. And then,
so for whatever reason, the Bergfelds did not participate much in the East Texas oil field. And that was a good time when Tyler got all this wealth, they needed neighborhoods. And Rudolph had bought most of the land and been developing it up to about where Bergfeld Park was prior to the East Texas oil field hitting.
From where, downtown?
I would say probably Rusk Street, somewhere in that area. So you've got Mockingbird, then it went first, second, third, fourth.
From the Presbyterian Church, basically towards Bergfeld Center.
Okay. And so, like College, the brick streets, all, big wide College Avenue going up there, that was his men that put the bricks in on all of those streets.
Well, I've heard, I don't know if this is true, that there was some, brick street work done with some of the prisoners from Camp Fanning during World War II. Have you ever heard that? I don't know if they maybe repaired or redid, but...
Yeah, I haven't heard that. I talked to a guy, A.A. Arnold, who worked for the city of Tyler from like the 1920s when he was a teenager, and he was still alive when I moved back to Tyler. And somebody said, you need to call him. He's in a nursing home, and he's got all these great stories. And he's the one that told me that he watched my great-grandfather's men lay the bricks for the brick streets. And he said in Mockingbird Lane, I also watched him plant all those pecan trees that are on Mockingbird. And so when I drive by Mockingbird between Broadway and College, it's kind of cool to see like trees that were planted by your great-great-grandfather.
And that would be planted prior to 1930?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, the park itself, was it sold or land donated to the city?
Yeah. The way it was told to me, it was donated originally, but there was a clause in it that it had to be developed within a certain number of years. And the city of Tyler hadn't developed it, so it reverted back to Rudolph. And then some years later, the city said, we want it now. And then there was a pretty nominal price for it. And I think it was just a city park. And then when he died in 1930, they renamed it Bergfeld Park.
All right. After he died, we've got which generation? Who do we have next? Not Rudolph, but we've got what would be your great-grandfather?
Yes, Julius Alexander and Rudolph Pabst. They were brothers.
Pabst, that sounds like the beer.
Yes, and that was Rudolph's wife's maiden name was Pabst.
Any connection to Pabst Blue Ribbon?
I don't know that I've heard there is, but not anything direct. Julius Pabst, which is where we got our name Julius from, he had gone to California to do, was in the gold rush and had stopped off in Tyler
49ers.
On the way. Yeah, I think it was 1848 when he went there. And then he had stopped in Tyler, and then I guess when they got done with the gold rush, he came back to Tyler. So he was here in the early 1850s. The Pabst were. They were very early.
So Julius, is this the first time that the name Julius starts to enter the family?
And I haven't researched it beyond that, but yeah, Julius Pabst.
And then, Julius, your dad.
Yep. And my grandfather.
Yeah.
And so my great-grandfather.
So Julius, kind of is that's a common theme with all of the men in the Bergfeld family, right?
It is. And I was embarrassed in first grade when they called my name out, Julius Bergfeld. I was like, I want to crawl under my desk.
Because it's your first name?
Yeah, and that was always my first name. So I had to,
Andy?
Yeah, I was like, please, Andy, and everybody laugh. And, but it's unique.
Yeah, it is. I mean.
And so my son's Julius Andrew Jr., and we'll see.
Yeah.
Once you get to 6 generations of Julius, you kind of stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays nothing seems, out of the ordinary, really, to me. I mean, you just knowing your dad, he kind of went by a nickname or brother, it seemed like, instead of Julius in a way, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
I don't know where that came from, but
his big sister, couldn't say Julius when she was a baby. It was too hard of a word, so she just called him brother. And that stuck.
Yeah.
So that's why he was brother.
Yeah, I mean, I'd hear all kind of people calling him that when I was growing up,
Yeah. I mean, that was his name at Texas, was Brother Bergfeld.
And so your dad went to, I guess he went to UT Austin.
Yep.
And did he come back here immediately after coming back from college and go to work with his father? Is that?
He went to law school.
That's right. I remember.
South Texas and took the bar, and then decided he was going to come back and work in the family business. And so He came and worked with his father for many years, and then ended up taking over all the management of all the Bergfeld properties.
Yeah. The Bergfeld agency, the one that's, really across the street from Brookshire's in Bergfeld Center.
Yep.
How long has that facility been the place where the business was run from?
That was built in the 80s. That office was. They had an office before that in the inline shops on 8th Street. They were the last office when I was a little kid. The last little retail space was their office for insurance and real estate management.
Because, I try to think back. I think your grandmother was still alive after your grandfather passed away and lived over there behind, kind of towards Sneed, back in there somewhere.
Yeah, their house was on the corner of 3rd and Sneed.
Yeah.
And then it got to where she couldn't get up the stairs very well. And actually both of them. And then they moved into a townhouse after that. But that's where the family all grew up, my dad's family.
About what year is it that your dad, Julius, takes over kind of the real estate business that's been built up to this point?
Yeah. He and his siblings bought out their cousins, and I want to say it was 83. And then at that time, that's when he took over complete management of everything.
And then it would eventually just be him as part of
his siblings are still involved.
Okay.
But he managed everything the whole time from then on.
And then we get to you. Okay. Here comes Andy. Andy's coming up. He goes to, I'm trying to remember, Hubbard probably.
Yep.
Because you're 2 years behind me.
Yep.
I know Lee, of course, but I don't remember. You probably didn't go to Andy. Was that Andy Wood School?
No, I was Rice.
Okay.
We had a big rivalry with Andy Woods in football.
That's right. I mean,
the Rice-Andy Woods rivalry.
But ultimately, you and my brother were close friends for a long time coming up, and we all knew each other.
Yep.
And you would graduate, and it seems to be like, your speed, man, was unusual, right?
Yes, I was fortunate. I had some God-given talent, but then we had some great track coaches when I was at Lee. And, running track's not really fun, and it's not easy.
Track meets are the most boring, long, drawn-out thing I've ever seen in my life.
So, the fact that Coach Taylor and Coach Johnson, you remember John Taylor,
I love Coach Johnson
Michael
and Coach
Johnson,
Taylor. Yeah. He's passed away.
Yes, he has.
Coach Taylor's married to Julie Hood.
That's right. Currently the golf coach, women's golf coach at Legacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those were my two coaches. So I ran my junior year because Coach Peterson told us we had to, if we were going to play wide receiver, you had to run track junior year. And I was like, okay, I'm running, but I'm not going to go to the meets. Yeah. And he said, that's okay. Well, about probably a month into track workouts, Coach Taylor started in on me, and he's like, you know what? I think you could do pretty well in this sport. And, just kind of coached me to the point to where, I realized, man, I could do this. I can run.
I mean, how did you know you were faster than the average guy? Was it like in 100 or what was the event?
Yeah. So, the 400 is what I ended up being really good at.
By yourself or on the relay?
Both.
Okay.
But that's a hard race, and the workouts for 400s are
that's
grueling.
One lap around the track as fast as you can run.
Yeah, and that's what it is to be good at it.
What was your best time? Can you recall?
Well, I ran a 46.8 at the state track meet
Sub
in Austin.
50 seconds is pretty fast.
Yeah,
all right.
You don't see many below 50, and 46 is getting down there. That was my last race I ever ran.
That's speed and stamina.
You have to have it both, and that's why having Coach Johnson and Coach Taylor, they worked us really hard. I mean, I'd guarantee our workouts were harder than anybody's. And I was just, I was coachable enough for those guys that I just did it. And, once you get in shape, then you get the advantage over pretty much everybody, because everybody can run 200 full speed if they were working out a little bit. But when you've got a closing speed for the last 100 yards when everybody else is dying,
yep.
And that's what that's what I had. So, I mean, I do have to give credit to the coaching because I could have just been like everybody else and died the last 100 yards.
But your 440 relay, I think with Tony Miller and that group, that I mean, y'all placed in state.
Yeah, we got a silver medal. I think the only relay in the school history that's gotten a medal at the state track meet, still to this day.
Now, obviously, that helped you in football, probably got the attention of what would be the SMU Mustangs, all of that combined, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, speed, and that's still what teams look at. I mean, if you got speed, they'll make you into something in their mind.
I mean, that's right. And it doesn't matter if it's even baseball. Yeah. They found out a guy's fast, I mean, he's getting recruited in football for sure, right? I mean,
definitely.
We think about old Jamarian Miller, who just was, drafted by the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
That's another Lee alum that's done well. But you did go on to play at SMU just right after the death penalty, right?
That's right. First recruiting class after the death penalty. I'd grown up watching SMU, just going to games, watching McElhenney and James and Eric Dickerson.
I love those guys.
Yeah. That was, so I liked SMU. I thought well of the school.
I did too.
And then the education component, back when education really mattered in college sports, I just was like, man, this is the best opportunity in the world to get to go down here and start playing immediately. But also the education part of it was huge.
Well, you got there and you end up being number 15, I think, right?
Yep.
And we're showing you making a catch. It looks like it's against North Texas.
That was
probably your best game in your career.
Yeah. It was. It's, football's interesting. And being an athlete, if you ever get in a zone, what they call the zone, where they could have thrown me anything that game.
And you would have caught it?
I would have caught it. I was just in the zone. And you don't get that feeling all the time. Some games you're just playing and, things work out good. But that game, I guess, just matchups and the game plan going into it was to get me the ball a bunch. And so, that was definitely one of the highlights of my college career, being player of the game in any Division I football game as a wide receiver.
Right. I mean, that's things that most people will never be able to say that happened to them, right?
Yeah.
But, I think about SMU. I was this close and accepted to go into SMU, and I was going to walk on.
Yeah.
Because they had the death penalty. And then when I was playing at Lee, I got a recruiting visit, but it was obviously for people who could walk on only because they had no scholarships.
Yeah. And so that was the year it went down. Everything went down.
Right. So I went on a football visit, and on a football visit, it's a funny story. I wanted to ask you if you've ever been to this place. Dave Richards, I don't know if you remember.
I know of Dave.
Okay. He took me and some other guys on the football. They took me to a place called the Start Club. And
I've heard of it, but I never went there. I have heard of it, and I've read stories about it.
Oh, my gosh. I was like a kid from Tyler. I was like, what in the world is this? But that's my favorite memory, or my most vivid memory of a SMU football visit.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but that's kind of like SMU at the time was.
It was like the Flock of Seagulls, that band, and everybody in there looked like they were a part of the band.
Yeah. That's cool. I didn't know you'd been there.
But anyway, I went on to UT and, walked on there for a year and then just gave it up. Said, look, I'm not serious. I'm not committed, probably not coachable, to use your word. So I'm going on. Now, do you play football the whole time you're there, or do you finally just kind of dig into academics?
Yeah, so I played 4 years, and I was on scholarship for 5. Last year, I wanted to go to law school, and, football and school aren't perfectly compatible.
It's tough.
Because, I'm down there every day from 2 until 7:30 at night, and then I got to get I remember having to get to the cafeteria because it closed at 8, and then you eat, and then if you've got time, you study after that, and then you got to be at class at 8 a.m. in the morning because you got to get your classes done in time to get down to the field house. So
yeah, that's a tough schedule. I did it for 1 semester, and it's tough.
Yeah. So my last year, I wanted to go to law school, and I'm like, all right, I need to show law schools what I can do when I'm not playing football.
That is, improve your grades when you have time to study.
Yeah, and that's what I did. And I walked into law school admissions. I said, these 2 semesters I didn't have football. I made a 3.5, and, it's hard when you have football to do that and dedicate yourself to academics as much. So that was kind of my story.
All right. So you get accepted, you do all the things like take the LSAT and all the things hoops you have to jump through, and you go to South Texas just like your dad.
Yep.
And is my brother Todd there when you get there?
He was. He got there a year before me, and my roommate from SMU was also down there, Chris Hanslick.
Oh, yeah.
And Chris and Todd knew each other just through our connection. And so, yeah, we already had, there were a lot of people down there.
Hanslick went to UT, though, didn't he?
No, he went to SMU.
I guess since he was friends with Todd, I always thought he did, and didn't know him, but that's where he met him, is through you.
Yep.
Because Hanslick's done really well for himself in Houston as a lawyer.
Oh, yeah. And I knew he would. Some people are really cut out to be lawyers and just driven. And
he's polished.
He was always that way, man. We'd go out the night before and be up till 2 a.m. and that sucker would be up and dressed and ready to go at 8 o'clock the next morning. I'm like, golly, But yeah, he knew what he wanted, and I'm happy for him. He's done great.
Yeah, no, I got to see him. He had one of his kids was in the Rose Festival a few years ago, and I saw him and talked to him. Well, okay, so you graduate, and you do take the bar, though, don't you?
Yeah, and practice law.
Right.
And that was, law school was great. I learned more in law school than I learned in college.
About life and
just
real stuff.
Application, yeah. Like, okay, I could use this. I could see myself using contracts. I could see myself needing to understand torts, property law.
Oil and gas.
Yeah, all of it.
Agency. All this stuff teaches you almost like you're better prepared for business if you have a law degree.
For sure.
Because you understand the language and the concepts people are talking about.
Yeah. It was great. I love South Texas and the education. And then, of course, everyone's like, oh, well, you just got to go be a lawyer. Well, so I thought, okay, well, I've invested in this education and I don't really have anything else I'm dying to do. So that was, that was the route. And there were times when it was awesome and I loved it. And then there were times when I'm like, I don't want to do this forever, my whole life. And so,
some of it can be monotonous.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the billing part.
No question.
You have to bill 80 hours or some set. And I'm like, well, I can't do that much work. I don't know how I'm going to do that.
Get creative with the pen, Andy.
Yeah. And so and I don't blame
Robert Davis. What do you mean? Well, I can't bill 80 hours.
No, I didn't say that. No, I was grateful.
I did.
I'm grateful for the opportunity. But in life, after, a couple of years, I went home and I just told my wife, I said, I really want to be in commercial real estate. I just don't want to do this the rest of my life. And she thought she was marrying a lawyer, and had the security of being a lawyer.
Yeah, your paycheck is generally pretty stable from 2 week to 2 week.
That's right. That's right. And it's not in real estate.
Yeah, you're more like a plaintiff lawyer in a way where it can be feast or famine, or
absolutely
right. It's like
you go from getting a paycheck to needing commissions.
Yes,
and but there's a lot of opportunity, like you say, on the commission side to really, there's no ceiling,
Right. If the deal's big, the commission's big.
That's right.
Your dad, had you ever talked to your dad as you approached, passing the bar about coming to work for him, or did that talk come later?
Well, so we did not, that I can recall, really. Once again, I was so independent. I really wanted to do everything myself. I just didn't want,
same way,
to come back and it wouldn't have worked. I've never gotten a paycheck from my father or from our family.
Is it hard for you to work with your dad? It was hard for me to work with my dad.
Yes, it became easy. So what I ended up doing is practicing law, and then I went to work for Burns Commercial as a agent, because I had to have however many years, 3 or 4 years till you can be your own broker. So I did that and practiced law at the same time. And then when I qualified to be able to be a broker, I decided to go out on my own. And my dad had, as we talked about, he had handled the family real estate and done some residential over his career. But Tyler wasn't really, I think Burns proved that you could have a strictly commercial real estate firm and make a living.
Like Barnes and Noble was well known back then.
Yeah, and they were the only one. And so I thought, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And so that's when I opened Bergfeld Realty Company, LLC. And I was officing in a building at 210 South Broadway in a single office by myself. And then I leased my office out. And so I was talking to my dad about it. And he said, well, why don't you just come in with us?
And
you can have your company in here in under our roof. But I didn't ever get paid by him. So that worked out perfect.
It saved you some overhead. Right?
Yes, exactly.
All right. So clearly, you're giving us examples of how you came back to Tyler, really kind of, dedicated to doing something in your own name.
Yes.
Right. Other than, just to work with your dad. I mean, you're kind of staking out your own claim in this commercial real estate sector.
Yes, on the company side for sure. And then even on the Bergfeld Center side, I made a little money practicing law and decided, you know what, I'm going to buy out my dad's siblings, his sisters, because that's what had happened the generation before and the generation before. And I thought, well, that's what's going to happen for our generation. So I approached them, and I love them to death, and we get along great. But they were like, "Yeah, we don't want to sell. This is too good. We're going to hold it."
I mean, like, hey, if I'm not sure I want to sell either.
Yeah,
what I mean?
And so I was like, "Oh, they don't want to sell." And then I started looking at the next generation, and I think there's 9 of us at this generation.
The numbers game is not in your favor.
That's right. And now I think, well, we're going to split this thing at 9 ways. This is not going
to work.
No.
I'm going to be doing all the thinking work, or a lot of it.
Yeah. And so I just decided at that point, okay, I'm young enough. I'm going to go do something. I'm going to blaze my own trail, and that's what I've tried to do.
Okay. So that kind of sets us up, the audience and me, to understand, how you were kind of one foot in the law, one foot in the real estate, but really wanting to get completely into the real estate. That's where we are, right?
Correct.
I read an article about you that said what you just said. You made a little money on a case. I'm assuming it was a plaintiff case.
My only plaintiff case.
And that's okay.
Yep.
But what you did with that money, at least from what I understood, was to pursue what would be called the Dewberry Plantation Project.
That was part of it, went to Dewberry. Yep. Dewberry was its own animal.
All right, let's put this animal. Let's find out, how does this animal get into Andy Bergfeld's head while he's back home? He shifted with his wife to not being a lawyer exactly.
That was even before that, actually. No, it's funny because, I don't know where you studied for the bar, if you were still in Houston.
I stayed in Houston.
Yeah, so did I.
To stay undistracted.
Yeah, and so 3 of us would go to the Rice University Library to study every day. It was like a job.
That's right.
9 to 9, you just put time in. Well, if you're there all day, I would get kind of bored or burned out a little bit at times. So I would go to the history section because I had a history degree from college, and it's always been a love. So I would just pull books off the shelf, and I'd read, about some interesting topic in Texas history or United States history. And anyway, I came a book about historic homes of Texas. And I was flipping through the pages, and I saw this house, and it was a 1854 antebellum 2-story house, and it said 15 miles southwest of Texas. Of Tyler.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, I've never even heard of that or never seen it.
Is that what it looked like when you first laid eyes on it?
Yeah, it was that. Yeah. Pretty much just like that.
I mean, it's a dilapidated, old, from the research you said 1854. The stuff says that Colonel Dewberry started on it in 1852, finished it in 1854.
That's right.
And then, obviously the Civil War ends in 1865. And then after that, at some point he dies. It goes on to heirs. You track them all down. There's 14 of them. You somehow finagle a price and get the house.
More or less. Yeah. I think there were more than 14 heirs, but if you found that probably is right.
I mean, I just took comments that you made.
Yeah, and so the heirs were all over the country, but one guy had been buying up undivided interest, and
royalty.
He was he was not family. The Edwards family bought it in 1908. And so all of their heirs are all over everywhere. And this guy, just a local guy out there, started buying these interests. He would just write, these people and say, hey, you've got an interest in this Dewberry estate.
Mineral interest
no,
under the land?
No, real estate interest.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, he ends up buying 50% of it. And gets a court order to sell the land because there was 400 and something acres that went with it. So they came up with a plan to put the house in 5 acres and then divide all the land between the remaining heirs. And long story short, I ended up working a deal out with a majority owner where he took a little less for his part of the house so I could get the house, but he also could get his 250 acres that's really what he wanted. And it took us about a year to work that out.
All right. So this is just kind of a project in your mind. You're working through this. You haven't had to put any money in it yet until the sale comes, right?
Yeah.
So then the sale comes. I mean, I also read somewhere that, the article attributes $194,000 to the project. I don't know if that's right. The only reason I wrote it down is because it stands out as a firm commitment to this project.
Yeah.
In, the late 1990s.
Yeah. Yeah, this was, they say labor of love.
Mistake? Money pit?
I don't regret it at all.
Yeah.
It's saved. It's the oldest 2-story house in our county. It's one of the most historic places in our county. So I just loved it. I loved every minute of it.
You must have, because we're going to have a photograph here where you're actually doing some of the work.
Yeah.
Look at this photograph.
Oh my gosh.
I don't look like myself either in my late 20s, so don't worry.
Yeah.
I had hair, some, not much, but anyway, you're out there beating around an old dilapidated house, Yeah. This truly must have been a labor of love.
It was. It was. That's where I'd get up early, daylight on a Saturday morning, and then I'd be out there, and I demoed everything. So I got it all back to basically the studs by myself, and
then hired some contractor.
And then hired a contractor to come in and
was the thought
renovate it.
You striking out as this is Andy Bergfeld's first deal where he purchases something, he improves it with intention to sell it?
I wanted to keep it forever.
Okay.
But between when I saw it in the Rice University Library and when I purchased it, I got married right after that. I married a city girl, love her to death, still with her.
She had demands.
Well, so she was talking to her aunt, and she said, Andy just spends all this time out at this house and working on it. And we were newlyweds, and, it's just something I loved doing. And her aunt said, well, it's better than a mistress.
Yes.
And so we laughed. Sean and I, after that, called it the mistress. And so at one point when I got it completely restored, we were doing events out there, and it didn't make enough money for me to hire someone to work the events. So then I'm out there closing up at midnight
after a wedding,
after the wedding reception, and then I get then kids get involved. You get a second kid, and I remember one time he was in his playpen out there while I'm mowing the yard, and had snot coming all down his face and crying. And
because you're out there blowing dust and grease all over.
Yeah, I'm just doing it all. I got to keep him in the playpen so he doesn't fall in the well while I'm mowing the yard. And it just got to the point where I asked my wife, I said, are you going to ever, I kind of thought it might be a cool country home type situation. I said, are you going to ever really think you're going to spend much time out there? And she was like, no. I said, well, then let's just sell it then. I said, we fixed it. We've saved it. There was a building on South Broadway that I had my eye on that was really more in the just straight commercial office, which I understood and knew, and I knew how to make it work. So we just decided to sell it, and that was it.
Well, just as we leave this topic, we kind of show what it looks like, and this is, I think you said the grand reopening at some point.
Yep.
the people that bought it, there's a lot of activity, at least, ghost activity, according to some stories. I'm just wondering if you and your wife, ever heard, felt, saw anything weird ghost-like at this dewberry plantation.
No, never did. I'll tell you one funny story. The first time we ever stayed out there, we had restored the hardwood floors. And so they had like a polyurethane on them.
You heard some creaking.
And when so we turned the heat on and it heated up the house because we're spending the night there and the floor started popping. And my wife jumped up and she was like, I am leaving. I'm out of here. So
because she thought it was a ghost?
She just... I got her out in the country. She's from the city. We're in this old house.
She's looking for any excuse to get out of there.
I guess so. So the mistress scared her out.
All right. So you kind of transitioned to another part of your life because you first run for school board, I think, in the year 2000.
Sounds about right.
So if I see this right, you're kind of selling Dewberry in 2001. You're starting this other, I guess it's more than an activity, certainly, to be on the school board, but it's like a job that you don't get paid for.
Never been paid a penny.
But you're kind of, I'm not ready for that yet, Chris. Yeah. This Bergfeld sign is, iconic in Tyler if you drive around, especially at night. Okay. 2000, you're running for school board. You're in the office with Julius, your father at this point, right? Doing your own thing, kind of.
I was at Burns when I ran for school board.
In 2000?
Yep.
Okay, that's right. I've seen 2004 is when you assumed your role as president of Bergfeld.
That's when I made the transition. Was in 2004.
Okay, so the school board terms are for how long?
3 years each.
All right, so you're already in one and into another one when you make the transition to Bergfeld Realty.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
All right. Now, people, they might wonder, you told us the Rudolph story, which you didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
Why the school board, Andy?
Well, I felt an obligation to give back to the community that raised me. I always told people Tyler is the best town in Texas. When I went away to college and law school, though, I realized we're not doing some things educationally that might prepare us for the next level. And I thought, what better way to help your town than to get on the school board? Because that's where it all starts. That's the foundation for everything.
People that are educated, right? That then become workers, leaders, business owners.
So I think at the time, and probably now pretty close, but there's about 85% of your kids in Smith County go to public school.
Right.
About 85% of those stay here after school. So you can either have an educated public or an uneducated public. And I think for me, and probably my great-great-grandfather, it's a bigger picture than just what's best for my family.
Right.
It's what's best for this town is to have an educated public. And so that's why I've been so committed to it, is not just for the school, even for the school district, but for our town to be exceptional. We've got to have educated kids.
I agree with that. But the one thing you said that I think is interesting, when you were off at college and law school, did you see your peers and say, you know what, they seem more educated than me? Did that ever cross your mind?
Yeah, at SMU all the time.
It crossed mine.
Yeah.
At Texas, I'm like, man, I've got to be a history major because I can't work any of this math.
Yeah.
I was a terrible math student.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. And
I'm like, how much easier was it for those people that we met in college to handle the college courses and do well in them compared to how hard it was for us to study, work, to learn stuff that maybe we didn't know.
Exactly. And I wasn't upset at Tyler ISD. I was happy to think, okay, I can help by letting them know what's going on freshman year at SMU. What's going on in law school? How do we study? So I thought I was going to go and help the school district. And, anytime you run for public office, I still remember sitting in the parking lot at the TISD administration office with my candidate packet that I'd already signed. And I'm like, all right, well, you're about to run for office. There's a chance you could lose. Are you ready for that? And I was like, yeah, I'm ready. I want to get back.
And, usually there's not really contentious issues normally in a school board race, is there? Not early on.
Back then, I don't think there was, but it got contentious pretty quick.
Okay, so you decided to run, and when you said you were committed, you have remained committed because, how long have you been on the school board in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I think probably 22 years, I'm guessing.
Almost solid?
I did 7 years, then I got off for 5 because I had another thing that I felt called to work on. And then when I got done with that, I felt like the school district needed me back again. So I got back on in 2012 and have been on ever since then.
Well, I don't want to pry too deeply, but the thing that you were called to go work on, is that something that we know about, or is that something private with your family and something else?
It was faith related.
Okay.
So it's pretty private.
Yeah.
And people know me, what I was doing at that time, but I really felt a calling from my faith that I need to go help in another area.
All right. So, and would you say when you came back to the school district, you were just that much more, dedicated to making the place better?
Yeah, I learned a lot. When I left, I thought things are in great shape. We had been named School Board of the Year for the state of Texas. I was the president of the school board. We got School Board of the Year. Robbie Lee won a state championship in football. John Tyler had played for a state championship. All of this while I was on the school board. And we had reformed the whole way we were doing school. So all of that happened between 2000 and 2005 to where I really felt like we were in great shape. The reason we got School Board of the Year is because of all the reforms that we put in place to make our public schools better adjusted for what was being measured. And anyway, so I got off. Well, then by the time I'd gotten back on, I'll just say it, that the superintendent that was there had run off our best football coach, our athletic director, our best baseball coach, and we had 13 improvement required schools.
So you're saying, the car had definitely got off in the ditch?
I think everybody would, if they looked at it, would say it had.
And when is this period of time where the school board makes this push to rebuild all the schools and we have this 3 bond package thing?
Well, it started, the year I got on school board, if you remember, the school district proposed the huge $294 million bond to redo every school.
And got defeated.
So that was probably the beginning of a wake-up call for us.
To present these things in a more transparent, specific way.
And have more buy-in from the community and from even political opponents, and to show success academically. So we had to fix ourselves before we could think about doing any more bonds. But that was great. We needed to.
So when is it? How long is it between the big bond that was initially defeated and the first smaller bond for the elementary school?
I'm going to say it was probably 3 years.
Okay. So you guys kind of, got back. And what I've heard people say about that is, and they use you guys as an example. It's like, hey, the TISD, they presented this school, this bond package, and they were going to look like this. And you know what? When they were finished, they did what they said, and they looked just like that. And that built momentum for the other bond packages.
Yes, trust was everything back then. Even our political opponents trusted us after a certain time.
Taxpayer group?
Yeah. That's, they're still here.
The same ones. We know grassroots of America United. I'm not disparaging Joanne or anybody, but what I'm saying is they're constantly there to oppose what some people believe is necessary progress. And they have a right to their opinion because it does cost taxpayers additional money, right? It just does sometimes.
Yeah, it does. And you frame that right. I do think, though, that even Joanne and her group, once they saw and trusted us, that we were on time, under budget, and managing our other finances really well. They sat out a couple of bond elections. They didn't have an opinion. She even, I think, worked on one of the committees to reform our schools after the first bond died. So we have had a good working relationship with them, but they serve a purpose, and that is to keep taxpayers' money spent efficiently.
And I'm glad you said it like that, because, a lot of people are just all or nothing on everything.
Yeah.
And it's aggravating as can be to me, right? Like, Joanne Fleming is not all bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
now,
I agree with a lot of what she believes.
She may oppose your project or parts of it, but can we imagine a world where nobody opposes anything?
Yeah.
Then you just have these things that are done, proposed. The efficiencies are never in there. And our tax bill 20 years down the road is something we're like, holy cow, right?
Yeah. Well, we can look around at government today and see that a lot of money's wasted. And for you and I'll speak for me. I work really hard and I pay a lot of money to the government, and to see it squandered is, it's disheartening.
I mean, I don't work that hard. I'm hunting tax loopholes. I got a bunch of
a podcast. Yeah.
Got a bunch of municipal bonds. I'm trying to, go around the American system. No, you're right. I mean, we pay a lot of taxes. But if that happens, then, you're ending up fortunate, right? You're working hard, but we are fortunate, right? To live in Tyler.
Oh, yeah.
To do what we do and enjoy being here doing it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the best place to raise a family in probably the country, I would say.
We continue to see our former, friends, acquaintances say 30 years ago, they would never come back here.
Yeah.
And then we go somewhere and we see that they are back here, right? And the numbers are bearing that out as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think people are taking notice. You get some of these rankings, the second best place to live and stuff like that. And
Utah license plates are driving through town.
I mean, I was working on the square one time taking care of the rose garden there, and I had some people pull up with California plates, said they had gotten in the car and drove to Tyler, Texas, because they heard of our traditional values and they were going to move here, and they did, and they're talking to me. I looked like the gardener, but I knew a lot about Tyler, and
they're like, golly, this gardener is smart. He knows all about the city.
Yeah.
This is a great place.
So anyway, that was a fun conversation, but just to have someone that will just pack their car up and drive to your town for quality of life is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's either they have nothing going on back in California, or California's gotten so bad, or they're looking for a fresh start. And, they said, well, hey, why not Tyler, Texas?
Yeah.
But, we do need new people, the 50-cent sales tax and the revenue that we get there. The infrastructure also gets a little wear and tear. But the people that I've talked to in this podcast have constantly talked about the school district being kind of one of the main things that attracts businesses here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because your workers are largely going to be public school parents. And absolutely. So having every school in the district rebuilt once we opened Hubbard last year, so it's either new or renovated. Every single public school we have in Tyler over the last, that would be about 13 years.
Right.
Yeah, that's big.
Well, I mean, certainly the economic development people think it's big, and they say it is when they, entertain and host these people that come into town looking as, for Tyler to be a place to come.
In public facilities, to me, I'm a conservative by nature, financially conservative, socially somewhat conservative, but I think we have to have the best public facilities of any town our size, because that's the difference maker. Okay.
The parks,
your downtown square, your landscaping on your medians, courthouse. I mean, these are all indicators of a healthy town to me.
And they're all coming together. I guess, we got to give Don Warren a little credit on the parks, right? I mean, it seemed like he was.
Yeah, he was a parks guy.
He was the park man.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, now I know Don just lived right next to Bergfeld Park, but
right. It's easy for him to get there.
Yeah, he wanted the amphitheater to be nice, and it is nice.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I wonder what your kids' reaction was when they were old enough to realize that the park was named after their name. I mean, do you recall a story or anything like that?
No, I feel like they sense, well, and probably from me talking to them, the sense of obligation to what your family has built, and
not do a bunch of crazy stuff.
Yeah, and I still am talking to them daily about the type of man that you need to be. I've got 3 boys, and and I think I have told them there's a higher standard for you than other people you may be friends with.
Right. And you don't mean that. I know how you mean that, because I know you don't mean that like we're better than anybody.
No.
What you mean is that if you got arrested, I promise you'll be on the front page of KLTV, and somebody else might not be.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. So what you do matters, and if people are going to think, well, you're spoiled, and this, that, or the other, and it is hard because these guys are probably rebelling a little back against.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, Dad, I'm not trying to be like you.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever heard that?
I've felt it.
I've heard it.
Yeah, I felt it, and that's good. I mean, be better than me. That's what every dad's wishes are for their kids. Be better than me.
Yeah, I've told my kids that, but they know they can't accomplish that, and so they're demoralized.
They'll never have a podcast like this.
No, but you're right, son. There's so many things I've done that I don't want you to make these mistakes. Do this. I mean, right? That's being a parent.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. We'll have to watch for your boys if anybody comes back. You've got 3 boys. One of them's headed to Fort Worth.
Yep.
One of them's probably going to come back here.
I think
maybe.
It's hard to predict.
It is hard to predict.
Like I said, I'm encouraging them to go get as much experience as they can in places that have bigger opportunities than Tyler. We're still 115,000, so I can restore old buildings and make them cool, but there's a limited amount of old buildings that you can restore.
That's right.
And that may not be their niche. It may be new development. But once again, there's only so much new development a town can take at one time. So
right, because Bergfeld Center, there was really no room for you to expand that area, was there?
I did when I came back. So we did the CVS ground lease.
Okay,
that was an Exxon. Yeah. Okay. That was originally a gas station. We took down Cinema 1 and 2, if you remember that.
Everybody hates you for that.
I know.
I saw Purple Rain in there. I've seen a lot of,
Star Wars. Oh, that was a good one.
You took it down, followed by the M.A. Sims era.
Yeah, M.A. Sims, we converted it into a restaurant, retail, and then that kind of played its course, kind of ran its course, and then we had some people that wanted to do a restaurant but didn't want to do it in the old movie theater, and it was a good enough concept. It was the first watch, and so we decided to just take everything down, build a new strip center there, and just kind of, because we kept trying to fit stuff into that Cinema 1 and 2, and it wasn't designed to really have much of an adaptive reuse.
Yeah, it's been good for y'all. It seems like that strip center has been, pretty much filled all the time.
Yeah.
What about Brookshire's? Is Brookshire's a part of that?
Yeah. So Brookshire's is a tenant of ours. They started on 8th Street in the main retail there on the north side of 8th Street. And then they grew into where Tyler Internal Medicine is now. That was a Brookshire's originally.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And then when they needed to build a new store, we built them the store on the old soccer field and leased it to them. And so they've been with us that's the 3rd location in Bergfeld Center.
Really?
Yeah.
a lot of people will remember the Lubies and wonder where did the Lubies go?
Yeah, Lubies, poor Lubies. Loved it. A lot of memories after church going to Lubies.
Man,
Lubies built that building, and they built a crawl space underneath it so that they could access all the plumbing for the kitchen and everything, which makes sense. But it was designed in a way that water held underneath there, and it had all steel trusses underneath the floor.
Started to corrode.
And all of those started rusting, and part of their kitchen floor dropped. So we had an engineer go in there, and he's like, yeah, this is not good. You can't, and you can't access it to repair it economically. And so basically, the building
got condemned.
Yeah, it kind of ran its course too. And Luby's at the time had closed a lot of restaurants, and
even the one on Shiloh.
Yeah,
right. They had one. They'd moved south
when we were in high school.
So the land still sits there, and a lot of people probably wonder, like, hey, Andy, that's a great location. Why is nothing there?
Yeah, I think that's in future plans. We've got some conceptual ideas that we're just kind of making sure everybody's on board with. And you've also got what used to be Bill Day that just changed to Tire Service Center or something. Right. It may make sense for us to get that whole block back to redevelop it.
So you have Broadway frontage.
Because that's your expensive frontage. That's your best frontage right there. And
yeah, it would be.
I don't want to say anything. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but we need to utilize that as well as we can.
I can't remember what there was an old bar restaurant. It used to be the Western Sizzler.
Yeah, Elmo's. Remember that?
Elmo's.
Yeah.
Golly, I couldn't remember that.
Yeah, Elmo's.
Right when we first got back to town.
Yeah.
I got back here in 1993.
And I think that may have been on the backside of where CVS is now.
It was somewhere right in there. Man, I mean, everybody in the town that lives around the Zay district would kill me if I didn't ask you about, hey, when's the Lost Pizza going to get ready?
I know, man. They've been paying rent for quite a while, but they've now pulled permits, and there's construction going on. So I'm excited about it.
No, I mean, it seems like such a good thing to go there in Bergfeld.
I agree.
I just think they should have hired my contractors for my building instead of theirs, as slow as they're moving.
I have no idea what the backstory is there. I'm just glad to see them working on it, because that's needed up there.
All right. So we pretty much know that, you mentioned this earlier, that after Dewberry, you identified something on South Broadway, and I'm assuming there's a time frame when you're making these smaller deals, right? You're just kind of developing your reputation and ability to get bigger deals.
Yes. So bought a little strip center on University Place in 1999. That was my first purchase. Learned a lot there. And then Tim Brookshire came into our office one day paying for his insurance. And my dad introduced me to him, and Tim said something to the effect, I hadn't had great luck with some other real estate deals I've done. If you ever have anything you want me to look at, I'd be interested. And I said, well, actually, I've got this concept in mind right now. And it was taking an old furniture store. You and I lived in Houston. I lived in Dallas and then Houston.
I lived in Austin and then Dallas.
And I saw things happening in those downtowns, this whole revitalization starting to take hold, but it hadn't come to Tyler yet. And anyway, I saw this old furniture store that was on Broadway, great address, but it was covered in yellow sheet metal on the front. Just looked awful. But then the more I looked at it, I kind of started thinking, well, what else could it be? And then I found out it had a parking lot next to it, which is key for downtown development at that time,
right?
In early 2000s. So I came up with this plan that we would take all the metal off, we would put a new front on the building and convert it from a furniture store to an office building. So I told Tim about it, which it was pretty out there. Like the second floor I didn't have any ceilings. It just went all the way to the wood deck, and it was a barrel-shaped roof. So you had all these steel trusses going through there. You had AC ducts that we ran through, and then you're looking up at the wood deck of the ceiling. And that was not a concept people in Tyler were used to. You had to have a drop ceiling. It had to be 9 feet tall, and everything had to be so cookie cutter.
Ceiling tiles.
Yeah. And so fortunately, he said, yeah, I'm on board with it. So that was our first partnership right there. And I couldn't have done it without him. So we renovated that building, and I'll tell you the short story. I didn't have any tenants for it, and I was about, I would say maybe 2 months from finishing it, and our construction loan would end, and then we'd be paying principal and interest, and I didn't have a single tenant signed up. And I started kicking myself going, maybe this was just ahead of Tyler's time.
Right.
I should have done something safer. And so I called him. I said, hey, our loan payment's coming due, and I don't have any tenants. And I was ready. I'm an old football player. I get chewed out by the coach, and, we learned to take it. I just didn't know. I just knew I needed to tell him that. And, it's a memory I'll never forget. I told him, I said, we're about to have, a loan payment that's bigger, about 5 times what my house payment is. And I'm not going to be able to handle it. And he listened, and then he said, you know what? I believe in you. He said, you've got a great plan. You've worked hard at it, and I just believe in you, and it's going to work out. And I was like, when I hung up, I was like, man,
this is Tim.
Yeah, this is Tim.
Tim, my across the street neighbor.
Yeah.
Right.
And I thought, that's what grace looks like.
Yeah,
in the flesh.
But Tim is a kind soul, right? He's very nice, and I've not done business with him, but that sounds like something he would say.
Yeah, and that's not something you'd hear many people that had a lot of money invested in a project.
Yeah, unless they appreciated the relationships and Tyler and things more than they did, making every single penny.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of...
And the good ending to that story is probably a week later.
Y'all got some tenants?
Yeah, I did my first lease, and then I did another one a week after that, and then we've been full, 100% occupied, loans paid off, and it's worked out great.
Okay. So you go big next. You go... later on, I'm assuming you're doing all these little deals, but when we get to the benchmarks of your career, that's one of them. And now we're going to the People's Petroleum Building, right? That's a big building.
Yeah.
Let's go to it. There we go. Let's go back to it. Okay. So that's a big one. That was, empty.
I'm going to say less than 20% occupied.
Okay. That's almost empty.
Yeah. And all the systems were wore out. Everything.
Renovation.
Yeah.
Is this another partnership with Tim Brookshire to kind of get this thing on its feet and utilize some of the great aspects of it, which was the old bank, the granite, all that stuff, the Art Deco look that was in there?
Yeah. So that one's a fun story. Go back to Dewberry. I learned how to do historic tax credits.
That's good.
That is, if you're, we could do a whole segment on those.
Yeah, but you learned that.
I learned that then.
And you've been applying that everywhere you've been since.
Greyhound. As much as I can. Absolutely. When you don't have to pay the IRS and you can make old buildings look pretty and useful again in your own hometown. So that was that. Tim looked at it probably, I'm going to say at least half a dozen times over the year that we had it for sale. I had it listed with the current owner at the time, and Tim would call me up, every month or two. Hey, let's go look at that People's Building again, and we'd go all through it. We'd spend
Tim, you've already seen this.
3 hours going through it every time, and
but you were thinking about the commission.
Yeah, there wasn't going to be much
on
that. But what I did tell him, I would hint to him about the historic tax credits and what that would look like on a building this size and an investment this size. And
you would be the partner that brought that knowledge.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way. That's a good business move.
Yeah. The building, like you say, is incredible. The finishes in there are the best in East Texas.
You could not do that today.
You could not. And so you have all that, but we've also got, elevators all need to be redone. Electrical, some of it was from the 30s. HVAC was shot. I mean, everything needed to be replaced in there. But when you apply the tax credits to it, it makes sense. When you don't, it doesn't. It does not work without historic tax credits. So I told him, I will handle all the tax credits on this partnership if you'll do this. And we agreed to, and then he brought his son Garnet in, who was living in Dallas at the time, to manage the construction and the renovation, and that's how that partnership started.
Well, that sounds successful. Now, you also moved to next door, the big black building called the Plaza, right?
Yes.
How do y'all, is it the same kind of partnership where y'all go in, you try to get some tax credits in some way?
Actually, Plaza did not qualify for tax credits. So we finished Peoples, and literally we're like 99% occupied. And so the three of us, Garnet and Tim and I, are talking like, well, what do we do next? You know, we're on a roll, kind of.
Yeah, need to keep doing something.
Yeah. And so Garnet had a relationship with the owners of Plaza Tower and had kind of been talking to them about, us possibly taking that over and renovating that. And I think over time, it just, from what I was told, the current owners didn't want to invest that much, maybe energy into what it would take to get it back. It was 52% occupied, Plaza Tower was. And so we ended up working a deal out with them where we could buy Plaza Tower and really just reimagine the building. You've got the core office tower, but all the old Bank of America space, that was 34,000 feet on the first, second, and the mezzanine, or third. And so instead of trying to force a bank into there, which banks don't need all this space anymore.
No, they don't.
I started kind of learning through this process all about, kind of urban renewal, what works and what is working in creating a downtown in 2020 that it's not what it was in 2000 and not what it was in 1980 or 1950. So I started studying that. We put a plan together with Fitzpatrick Architects to convert the old front office, which all those windows were blacked out, if you remember. Mm-hmm. And that's when we said, we're going to convert that to retail. We're going to take the old rock garden and convert it into a community space that'll be kind of like the living room for downtown. And just, hey, we've got a big American flag hanging in there right now. We have the tallest indoor Christmas tree in East Texas during Christmas season. We host 4th of July for all of our tenants. So we've just turned that into a really fun place to go to work, and it's now 99% full as well. Plaza Tower is.
Well, that's awesome, really. I mean, because I don't know, as a developer like yourself, like what occupancy you're kind of looking for, for it to be a good deal. 75%,
City average is mid-80s.
Okay. Yeah. So you're in excess of both of those on both of those buildings.
Yeah.
And the project downtown on the square, that would only seem to increase the viability of these projects that you've been working on.
Yes. The office market has stayed pretty healthy downtown. And in each of these buildings, you've got Prime 102, you've got Texas Bank and Trust, which were all tenants that we handpicked to go in there. Chick-fil-A, Andy's, Crema Coffee. The majority of the reason they make it is because there's 400,000 square feet of office right there on that side of the block. And so, they've got daytime users.
Built-in walking traffic.
Yeah,
right?
of people in those two buildings. And our office, and I would say we're probably 90% office, 10% retail. So we're in good shape either way. What I would love to see with this whole square renovation is the other parts of the square come to life.
The New Yorker store, they tore that down.
Yeah.
I mean, that sat there empty for years. I mean, come on, Ron Schomburg. I mean, what's going on?
The roof fell in on it.
Golly.
So that's the vision, is that we become a destination downtown. Right now, we're a healthy office market downtown.
With some places to eat.
Few places to eat.
A couple of bars, Rick's,
Yeah.
Don Juan's, right? The corner bar at Prime 102.
But just imagine if you travel like you do and you go places and you go see their downtown, and you see, what does it have? What kind of life does it have? And I think that's what a lot of us, that are from Tyler, that care about Tyler, we want our downtown to be a destination where it's talked about all over the state. You need to go to downtown Tyler. And I think we'll get there.
I mean, you've been committed to this, I know, because, you've been a part of Heart of Tyler, Smith County Historical Society, probably had input to the Master Improvement Plan that spanned to 2027.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, you've been part of the architects, if you will, of how do we make the downtown, a place where people want to go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. And so, it's at this point in my career, I'm 55. You start doing things that make a difference, and to me, this whole downtown master plan is something that our generation can do that'll make a difference for generations to come.
Right. It'll be so nice. And it's almost amazing that we're to this point, just being born and raised here like I have. The courthouse was a fight for years.
Yeah.
The fact that they were able to work this deal out between the city and the county to have this green space park and develop it all at once with Valencia Hotel.
Yeah.
I've been told it's going to start construction on January of 2027.
Yep.
So this stuff is all going to pull together by mid-2028 downtown, it looks like.
Yep. I think so. And that's just the beginning, Right.
Because those buildings that are around there, like you said, when all that's down there, then people are probably going to want to buy a building, put a business in there, and
I think there's a few more levers we can use to encourage the right kind of business in the right places.
Because that's important, right?
It is.
When you say the right kind of business, the businesses that will attract people.
Yes.
As opposed to a vape shop.
Yeah. Well, and we did get that outlawed in the Central Business District.
Okay, I didn't know that. I was just joking.
Yeah, that was like a year ago. But little steps like that, and then encouraging places that really add to your square and your downtown. And that'll just keep happening. I've watched it happen my whole career. There's nothing downtown when I moved back here except for Rick's. And that was it.
That's it.
But it's just it's a snowball effect, one after another. And then, like you say, you get a Blackstone hotel on the square too. And
luxury hotel with a bar in there.
Yeah. You're going to have a place, if you got a big group and you want to impress somebody in Tyler, Texas, that's where you're going to do it.
Or if you want to come spend the night here and not stay, at a regular run-of-the-mill hotel, there's going to be options. But what are the businesses that you would like to see or you think would be helpful to the downtown, build out right now?
Yeah. So I was in Georgetown about a month ago, Texas. And if you haven't been there, and I was in Granbury.
Downtown, I have not been to.
You need to go. It's every ground floor use is either restaurant, retail, or entertainment, all around the square. And I've talked to the city manager, Tyler, and I said, we need to reach out to Georgetown and see what they're doing, because the day I was there, it's just people everywhere, just people walking all around.
Ed Broussard, right?
Yeah.
Is the city of Tyler, do they seem eager? Are they helpful partners in trying to get something going like this?
They are. Tyler, I would say Tyler, some of the things that are good about Tyler are also negative.
Limiting
resistance to change.
Right.
We've always done it this way. My grandparents did it this way. That'll never happen. You'll never sell beer or wine.
I was about to say that.
So it just...
And then Brookshire's led the charge.
Yeah.
They helped.
Yeah.
And then Green Acres sat on the sidelines. Right. In Tyler, coalitions have to be built, and we all know who they are.
Yeah.
If we were born and raised here.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just like you said, they just sit on the sideline for progress to happen.
Yeah.
Now, what Andy Bergfeld's in charge. He's the mayor of Tyler. He gets to set the agenda, and he's going to win 2 years, and he's going to be here 6 years. What does he do about downtown after this is finished?
Yeah. Well, so Fitzpatrick Architects is a gem for us to have.
Because they know everything.
They love this urban development as much as anybody. And their brains are always thinking what could be, not what is, what could be. So they have created kind of a concept in the future that they're about to unveil at Plaza Tower. I think it's June 13th, maybe.
I'm scooping a story here.
Yeah.
Aren't I?
Yeah.
I mean, just walking into it accidentally.
It's cool. And that's the thing. You've got to envision what things could be. And you've got to go other places to see
what they've done
and what could happen. And Fitzpatrick's done that. I've done that. And that's what's exciting about it. You've got this whole landscape down there that isn't what it always is. I'll see some of the trolls on socials just being like, Tyler never this, Tyler never that. And I'm just like...
And the architects are getting all the money.
Yeah.
I mean, right? You've heard that. But here's what I'll say that in the cameras. Look, who cares if they have good ideas? It makes the downtown awesome. More people come here. More sales tax revenue is generated. I mean,
more property tax revenue, more sales tax revenue. People don't understand what we could be, even from the tax collection side, if all this happens.
Right. And if they don't think it up, who's going to think it up? Right? Nobody's trying to help Tyler.
Yeah. And I can have ideas in my head, but I don't know how to put them in action on a grand scale.
No question.
They do.
I totally understand it. Plus, I think Fitzpatrick, they're kind of invested and they love Tyler too, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they were out in South Tyler and, but they were always clients of ours and we used them. And we started talking downtown. They were the architects that helped us with Plaza Tower redesign. And then one day Steve's like, you know what? We had hinted at it. Y'all need to come down here. Y'all need to come down here. And then one day he's like, you know what? I think we do. And he said, but I want these 2 floors right here, and I'm going to move everything down here, which happened to be my office.
But you didn't care.
No. I mean, as a building owner, that's what you do.
Yeah, it's life of a real estate man.
I was like, here you go. Here's the keys.
Well, what's interesting, and the reason I wanted to build the show and energy to this point is that we can see how much you've put into all of this to do a good job for Tyler, for yourself, to be your own person, and also serve other entities, which circles me back to the school board. Mm-hmm. Okay. So probably what will be the most frustrating and unhappy time of your life, if I had to guess, and I don't know, we haven't talked about this, would probably be the second tenure on the school board. Am I right?
School board, if you don't think it's going to be frustrating going in, then you're in for a tough time.
You're naive.
Yeah, and you're not going to like it because the nature of education right now, there's so much going on. There's so much being exposed to our children. Technology, what you can get with technology, good and bad.
Just inappropriate stuff. What's inappropriate? I mean, all that.
Everything, emotions, and people try to get to society through our children,
right?
Because they are not going to come to me or you with some stupid idea because they know we'll just, that's not going to work. Well, they go get somebody whose brain isn't developed and start working on them. So I feel more like since 2012, it's been like the front line of a battlefield.
Well, you mentioned that because, there's been a lot of social issues that have ignited since 2010 to this point that we had never encountered or dealt with before or had to talk about.
Yeah.
And then those things went directly into the schools as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And I'm not making a comment about anyone or anything or any one of those. I'm just saying when you talk about, identity, sexual issues, racial issues. I mean, these are all compressed very hard and heavy from 2010 forward, right?
Absolutely.
And then they just wouldn't remain in the political arena. They would find themselves into the school board arena. Am I right?
Yeah.
And I mean,
like we were the bullseye for quite a while.
And, I found this picture of you because I just thought, it just so perfectly captured what it must felt like to be on the school board during this period of time. And part of that, I guess, animosity, anger, relations culminates with the name change at the school, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You had gone to Robert E. Lee like me, right? Probably never thought one time that even knew Robert E. Lee was a general for the Confederacy, right?
I mean, I knew that
generally, but I mean, really,
but I didn't dig too deep. I mean, and I did have a junior seminar in college was on the Civil War, but I had not studied it deeply or how we got to where we were.
We didn't know why it was called Robert E. Lee.
Yeah.
Right.
And I had to do some research.
And, there were some valid points made, right, about the timing of when the schools were named that.
Yeah.
Did you? I mean, I don't know.
I think, yeah.
I mean, I saw some stuff and I thought, that's interesting.
Right. Why would they
do that then?
Do that? I mean, the Robert E. Lee one wasn't, I mean, we were a very southern town, but
historically. It was in Houston. It was everywhere.
Yeah, it was. But then when the switch from Tyler High to John Tyler was, to me, I'm like, well, why did they switch the name of Tyler High to John Tyler? Because it was Tyler High all the way up until they moved out on the loop. And then all at the same time, you got Robert E. Lee and then you got John Tyler. So I felt like there was probably was some politics going on in the 1950s that I wouldn't understand today, but I now researched a lot about Robert E. Lee and and just really at the end of the day came to the conclusion that, this was probably political. This is not the way things are in 2020, 2 or whenever it was. It had come up one time, the name change had, and I told people then, and you can, it's on the internet, all of my words on this issue are, but I told people then, I'm going to do what's right for Tyler ISD, not what's right emotionally, and I'm not going to do anything that takes our district down. So that was the first name change where there wasn't even a second on the motion. But then over the next few years,
it came back.
It did, and we all knew it was probably going to. But I think the community educated itself. The first time on the name change, there was not a single public elected official that supported changing the name.
That was the initial common reaction of people when you try to you're forced to do something. Your immediate reaction is, I'm not doing this no matter what you say.
Not when outsiders are coming in trying to tell us how to do our business and run our town.
And you really don't believe they're here for our best interests. It's more political agitation.
Yes. And they just show up and it's people I've never seen. Where do these people come from? I don't know them. And I'm not going to let them tell us what's best. Right. I'll know when the time's right for our district and our community. And I've always said, I don't really care one way or the other about the name.
Right. But I don't think most people do that went there.
Yeah.
Right. Like I talked to friends of mine from John Tyler and they're like, I can't stop calling it John Tyler. Right.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't that issue for us that they turned it into in 2022.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Now, some people can attach grievances, legitimate grievances, to the issues surrounding the name and that, right? And that's not to say that they can't feel that way.
Right.
But we didn't feel, I don't think, the way that people tried to make it look we felt.
No, we didn't. There was no connection to the person. It was a school. It was a school.
REL, Raiders.
Yeah.
That's how it was. And, but, what do you think? I wonder because you were right in the crosshairs of that whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure you were attacked personally.
Yeah, I was, but that's okay.
No, I mean, tell us what you ultimately decided on this issue after the research, after it comes back up. What do you say? This is how we have to go and why?
So I stated early on in the first name change that I could see where it might be difficult when you know all of the facts for an African-American kid to go to a school named after the most prominent Confederate general of all time. That's all I said. I could see where that might, I mean, that's natural.
That's the lawyer in you. Like, hey, what is the other side? What's their best argument, right? As a lawyer, we always go, hey, how does this person feel? Why do they feel that way? What could they say? That's what you're saying.
So I felt like my job was to kind of thread the needle, gauging how the community felt, how leaders in the community felt. And I wanted that to be a decision that Tyler made for itself. Are we going to change these names? And if so, is Tyler ready to do this so that we don't face a huge backlash as a school district? Because we're public schools under attack in a lot of areas. And
vouchers?
I mean, a lot of areas.
Private schools, vouchers. I mean, those are different options, if you will, that people can say, I'm going to take my toys and go home.
Exactly.
If you change
If you make them mad enough, I'm done.
I'm done. I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
Now, most people can't afford to say I'm done, but a lot can.
Yeah. And they can move to the suburbs, too. So, I mean,
that's right. They can move out of the district.
As the leader for our board, I had to thread that needle to get it to where by the time it actually changed, you had the mayor issue a statement that he was for it, that it was time. All the other elected, that was Martin Hines at the time.
Was it Martin, not Don?
No, it was Martin.
Martin. I knew that deadgum Martin. He knew he was going out of office.
Yeah, he probably think he was about toward the end of that.
He didn't take that heat, or he took that heat for Don Warren.
Yeah. So anyway, and then, other elected officials that I don't even want to name.
No, it's okay. It's a shame that, we have to worry about people seeing it as a negative, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you just don't ever... people trust me with their information on some of these, items and that are real sensitive. And so let's just say that there was no community leaders were not for changing the name when it came around. Some may have not said it publicly, but behind the scenes, it was unanimous that it was time.
But Andy Bergfeld was going to have to stand out there nearly alone, as kind of the lightning rod for the decision on the name change. Is that accurate?
I hate singling myself out.
Well, I'm saying I'm singling you out. You didn't say it. I'm saying it as a person who says, hey, we're going to do what's best for the school and the city. I mean, you're the spokesman, right?
I felt like people were looking to me on that issue, and that if I was okay with it and I had done my research on it and I thought it was the best thing for Tyler ISD moving forward, that probably helped some people.
But I mean, also the criticism went to the lightning rod as well.
Yeah. By the time the second time it came around, so, our school board meetings were crazy back then. We had 78 speakers at one meeting.
How long do those
TV stations? Well, we limited it. I think we went from 5 minutes to 3 minutes and asked people if they have, if what you're going to say has already been said.
Don't say this.
Yeah. But God, it was hours. And then, big.
I'm not for democracy.
TV stations outside.
I don't have the patience for democracy. Not that kind of democracy.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. Everybody keep listening now. This is Andy. He's successfully working these commercial real estate deals and advancing in his career. And he's in the middle of this, okay? For love of city, right?
Right.
I mean, there's
no
benefit.
Paid. No, there's none.
There's no fine. You're not going to get a good deal on a commercial property because they loved you at the school board.
No.
All right. So I think that's worth pointing out. And so it comes to this name change, which, I mean, people have accepted and gone on with pretty easily.
Yeah. I mean, I would say a couple of people are still angry about it when I talk to them, but the vast majority were like, let's move on. let's go educate our kids. That's the number one thing, is educate our kids. We still try to keep social issues out of our district, and people get so emotional about issues.
Books,
coaches, Facebook. I mean, for us, we have just got to educate kids, and we have got to teach them Tyler values while they're in our care and control.
And that gets tougher, like you said. The book issue has made its way into the mayoral race.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's true, but I mean, one of the candidates said, well, the books that we're talking about at the library aren't allowed to be in a TISD library. And of course, I hadn't done that research and have no idea. But do y'all get pressure one way or the other on the school board about books?
I mean, not much. We actually did a survey of our books before it became a big deal.
Because you saw it coming?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen lawsuits since 2021 where all of these librarians at these public libraries have been, have filed lawsuits because they've been fired.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately for the city of Tyler, in this instance, most of those library people get paid a settlement which costs the city money.
We're fortunate in Tyler to have a superintendent like Marty Crawford. He's
good. He seems good. Is he really good, or are you just saying, hey, he's good?
I mean, I hired him, but I don't get anything.
Okay, full disclosure, I hired him.
Yeah.
No wonder that last superintendent was no good.
Marty is great. Marty shares the same values as this community. And so in education, that's not that common.
You're right, but those are bigger cities, and they call themselves more progressive.
Yes,
politics are able to wedge themselves into the process.
Big
more
part of it, yeah. But that's not the case here. Marty will say, "Hey, this issue. Here's what happened." I'll tell him what I think. He'll be like, "Yep, we're on the same page." And I said, "And don't be afraid to say exactly what it is, why our values are not being met in this instance, and then we'll move on." And I said, people need to hear that nowadays. They're so tired of the political pandering, one way or the other. Let's just do it the Tyler way and not worry about the right or the left.
Because sometimes, when you're not firm in your convictions and stand up like you said to Marty, people will take that as weakness and continue to ask for more, complain more, and before you know it, you're in a situation you're always just kind of, answering to the, the squeaky wheel.
Well, I feel fortunate to have had the parents I had that really taught me right from wrong. And I don't get it right all the time. But I do have a pretty clear concept when I hear facts, what we need to do to make this city or this school district the best it can be.
People who hear this should, I think, judge your commitment and sincerity against the fact that you've never really, I don't know if it's in the future, contemplated political office.
Yeah.
Has that been a calculus for you?
No, I don't really want to be a politician.
You've had your dose of it in the school board.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's where I felt called. What do I care about? So I care about my town. Okay. I care about my family. I care about my faith. I love living in Texas, but I don't really want to go to Austin and represent people.
Yeah, I feel
so
you.
Where can I really make a difference? If I've been given some leadership skills, where can I really make a difference? And to me, that is right here in this town. And I've never felt the draw to go to a bigger office. I think God has wanted me to be in Tyler ISD during especially these last 14 years. And every time I came up for, all right, am I going to run again? I would go through the same thing. Where do you want me to be? And there's been so much going on that the answer was always, you're right where you need to be.
Did you ever get a political opponent on any of
I haven't.
Okay.
No.
They know better to run against Andy when it comes to the school board.
I don't know about that. As soon as you start thinking that, they'll run and beat you.
He's as fast on the track as he is in the school board races.
I've tried to be steady, and I think people probably see that I really do care about Tyler, and I don't care about myself. In that in that way. So for whatever reason, I haven't had an opponent.
Man, I hope this show, shows the selflessness of you and the benefits you've brought, and as we kind of get closer to the end here, the long-term goals seem to be what's kind of excited you now, some 30 years after getting here.
Yeah.
Am I right? You talk about the plans that are going to be unveiled on June 13th, what this downtowns could be, right? I mean, that seems to be kind of, I wouldn't say your last chapter, but kind of towards the end of your career a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait for the time that I can just sit on the front porch at Plaza Tower and look out over our square. And 2028 or even 10, 20 years beyond that, when I really am in the twilight of my career, looking out and seeing, I may have had some little hand in making Tyler the best town it can be, and especially downtown.
Well, yeah, and certainly all the guys like yourself that started the downtown work. Because if that hadn't been done, we would be right there back in 1993 or 4, 95.
Yeah,
right now, wouldn't we?
We tried to cater to the automobile really since probably the 40s. After World War II, everything done downtown was to cater to the automobile. How fast can we get the automobile through downtown? How can we make sure parking's right in front of every building? So that we've tweaked things, and I think people probably thought they were doing the right thing, but it's about what killed downtown. And so the whole downtown revitalization concept is, so the parking garages are key. So you get the parking garages, you train people to park in the garages.
We've got 2 of them now.
Yeah, got 2 of them now, city and county. You do a road, it's called a lane diet, a road diet, where you go from 5 lanes down to 2, down to 2 each way, down to 1 each way. And over time, your downtown becomes this destination. You go and you park in the garages, or you park in Plaza Tower's west lot, and you walk to downtown, and then you can walk around, and you can go to shops, and you can go to restaurants, and you can go get a glass of wine, and you can do all this stuff that people crave from an era gone by. That old downtown square where the community came and, did their business.
Right, because you think about it. If I went to a restaurant in South Tyler, and me and my wife, we pulled up in the parking lot, got out, we walked. Now, I wouldn't be able to walk around anywhere else, really. I wouldn't be able to bump into someone else who had gone to a different restaurant or a different bar or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Which will be possible and probable when this is all finished downtown.
Yes, and it's happening now. I mean, like through my work with Heart of Tyler, I learned that that's such a cool little organization that just their sole purpose is to help downtown. So some of the things they do, like bar crawls, you'll go from every little restaurant, bar to another, and you'll end up somewhere, and there'll be a band and, Halloween costume contest. There's so many little fun things that are going on downtown already that are just going to grow, like you say. They're just you've got to imagine and see what other people are doing to know where this is going to end up.
Well, the critics, it's funny you mention the lanes.
Yeah.
Because one of the primary criticisms of the downtown plan has been the decision to go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes.
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that like I agree with it or that it's a secret, but it seems to be a stark contrast between the 2 mayoral candidates right now, is that somehow going to 2 lanes is bad. And I think what I just heard you say was you think it's exactly what the downtown needs.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's not my research.
Right, no,
it's out there.
You sound like you're talking about something you've read.
Yes, absolutely. That is the key. So if a car's going 45 miles an hour, they don't have time to look left or look right to see what shops are there, what restaurants are there. They're just zooming through downtown.
They need to slow down.
Yeah. And so they don't see what is there for them to pay, go to, or where am I going to eat? Oh, that's a nice little antique shop, or this, that. They're just cruising through downtown. That doesn't help downtown at all. What we need is people that are coming there for a purpose. And then you're going to have sales tax, like you mentioned. Then you're going to have the ability when retail continues to grow, then you're going to have other properties get improved next door. And it just kind of, it grows on itself. And this is what's been done all over the country. Valencia Hotel Blackstone is not going in because people can drive through downtown as fast as they can go. They would be like, no, I don't want to. My people need to be safe to walk around. And that's the other thing. You got to be safe. And are you safe if people are flying through downtown? Not the vision for the future.
The hotel itself, I think, has suggested to the mayor and other people that, because of what they were doing to renovate downtown is one of the primary reasons they agreed to come.
Yes, they would not be here if our square wasn't being renovated. No, they wouldn't have lasted one meeting. I mean, and that's just one use. There's going to be more.
I know. It's funny, though, how unless you understand the full picture of the downtown development and its different parts, you could be against one thing and not realize that, if you knew all this other stuff, you probably wouldn't be against it.
I just see it as a vision, the vision for the future. You've got to see that vision. If you see it the way it is now, or you see it the way it's been for the last 20 years, it might not make much sense to you. But if you've studied urban development and then you can see into the future how this works, and it's worked other places too. We're not the first ones to do this.
No, I mean, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Charleston, or one of those places that the TEDC group just went to.
Yeah, I think they were in South Carolina, Greenville.
Around the city, I mean, you moved your project with the Greyhound, which is kind of further to the west, right?
Yeah.
Than any place you'd been?
Further to the north than So growing up, everybody's like, you can't do anything north of the square.
Right.
That's just the graveyard for real estate.
Right.
And
that's why everything went south.
Yeah. And everything went south. And, but for the Greyhound Inn, contactless 9-room hotel. First of all, we had an incredible building once we got all the skin pulled off of it from the last conversion of the bus station. But these were also apartments originally in the 30s when they were built. The upstairs was on the left side. These were offices added in the 1946 for Greyhound. So to already have that in place with this huge parking lot that I could fence, I'm just like, you know what? The only thing it doesn't have going for it is it's not south of the square. Everything else checks a box. But then I started thinking, you know what? These are people that aren't Tylerites that are going to stay here.
Right. And they might be going to the federal courthouse.
Concept. Yeah. They don't know what the right side of the square is or not.
Yeah.
They see a cool building. And in 2 years, we've had 0 incidents of guests being uncomfortable by our location.
Right. Like there's no crime that's necessarily.
No. I mean, you got the sheriff's office 3 blocks to the east. You've got the police office 3 blocks to the west. You've got the federal U.S. Marshal circling the court. I mean, the square like every 15 minutes on a day. And so, anyway.
Where's growth going, though, Andy? In the downtown area, is it going east? Is it going west of this? I mean, where do you have room to develop the downtown area? East
with the courthouse going in, east is going to be popular just because of that. South is always a good bet. I like west. There's a lot of land west.
You're talking about the West Loop project?
No, I'm talking about from downtown going to Palace.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of land in there.
There's a lot of land in there. And then I like the north. If you look at First Baptist right now, they're adding a whole new education wing, and it faces north. Everything is faced south since 1908 or whenever they built that, 1905. Well, now they're facing north with their education. So all the young families that come to First Baptist are going to come in through the north side of the church. So I think as we prove things out, it will continue. The next layer will get developed. And I think it can happen in every direction.
I mean, once somebody takes a risk like you have and it's successful, then it encourages others, I'm sure, to buy property and do the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I used to be able to buy property for really cheap downtown. And
you can't anymore?
It's hard to now. It's hard to, but also rents are going up and, construction costs, inflation's been not great the last couple of years. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. But I think it's a great place.
Well, as far as the master plan, I don't know if this is a part of the master plan, but I've heard two people, Nick Pence's from Stanley's, Scott Martinez, both of who've been on the show, talk about a potential trail, a walking trail that might take us from TJC through the medical and on into the downtown area that we're talking about being developed. Have you heard things like that?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about that for 25 years,
who's going to move?
Yeah. That's the hard thing is, these things don't happen in a year. They don't happen in 5 years usually. I mean, you get concepts. We're bringing in a group now to look at Tyler as a blue zone city. And that's a whole nother thing, but that's how walkable are you? How many parks do you have? What's your quality of life? For health. And that's one of the areas that everybody keeps looking at. Like if we could connect downtown with the medical district, those two are close enough to where they could even fill in between it. And I've sold a good many properties between the hospitals and downtown. And these are out of town developers. These are people that see things happening other places.
And they see it here.
They're seeing it happen here. The foundation's being built and people are already getting those early pieces, getting them off the table.
They don't have some of the bias that the people that
That's right.
Because you go, okay, hey, we're about to get over to, basically, the barrio area that they refer to it, that's a magazine article reference, not my own.
Yeah.
Would that develop when Hispanics started coming here in increasing numbers between Beckham and Irwin?
Yes.
Right. That little thing.
Yeah.
But like some people, like you say, in the old days from Tyler would go, hey, man, there's nothing but, you can't go north.
Yeah. Well, like my banker on my first project downtown, who's a guy I love, who's been a great banker for me. When I told him I was going to take an old furniture store and convert it into an office building downtown, he said,
son, you don't understand.
He's like, that's a terrible idea. He finally just said, I'm going to loan you the money because it's you, but I don't see it. And then 20 years later, he calls me up when he retires and says, People's Petroleum is a hot building to be in. Do you have an office for me downtown? So
who's this? Bill Claywater?
Peter Boyd. I'll say Peter.
Okay, yeah, Peter. He lives right around the corner from.
And so minds can change over time. Perceptions can change over time, but realities have to change as well. So I try to change the realities, and then the perception goes after that.
Well, Andy, I've covered a lot with you. I know this is much longer than you thought, but I mean, you're an interesting guy. There's a lot to talk about, and I think people are interested in, where's the city going? Why are they doing what they're doing? And I think what's the best part about this is that at least people are thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there are plans being proposed and drawn, and so, what do you think? I mean, what does Tyler look like in the next 25 years based on what you know? And you can keep it downtown if you want to.
Yeah. So much of it, I've watched the political will, it's floundered for I'm just using the window when I've been paying attention, let's say 27 years, getting the county in the right shape to be able to move something forward. You talked about Nathaniel Moran. It took a person like him, because we've been talking about a new courthouse forever.
He carried the load.
He was stable enough, and people trusted him and believed him. So you had that, and you had a good commissioner's court, a lot of great county commissioners, people that just did it for the right reason. You had that, and then at the same time, you had some 3 or 4 different mayoral mayors that did it right. And it might be more than that.
Yeah.
The cities had a good string. And so those two coming together at the same time is the only way this would have happened. And so my fear is when we go back in, if we go back into factions or the cities against the county and the cities for the lowest taxes in the world and the counties screws up something, and then you can't get anything done.
Because people are afraid to have political repercussions because of their collaboration if it doesn't work out.
Gosh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I try to help. Maybe we take a little less on the county side.
You're taking a chance.
You're taking a chance.
Risk. Yeah. A lot of people, it's easier to go through life without taking any risk.
But like you don't care if you lose, right? I mean, if you ran another time and got beat, would you really lose? I'd care if you lost.
No.
Just like if you're serving your community as a council person, a commissioner, or the school board, if you lose trying, who cares?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, you and I believe that.
I do.
But, sometimes political positions are more coveted than others. And
stair steps to others.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, Andy, I think people should come away with, the sincerity, and you have no political ambition, and it is totally obvious if somebody's paying attention. And we've been so lucky to have you, and you've helped our city so much, and my kids and your kids are probably going to, can't believe they live in a place like this in the future, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here on the show today.
It's been great. Thanks for having me and really enjoyed the conversation.